You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. But one of the things that Democrats are now focused on, and that is Republicans will be speaking next week. How do they get to the vote out in a COVID-19 world? Well, that was what I talked about with Tom Perez, who is the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Here's that conversation. All right, Tom, this was not the week that you were planning for the longest, that thousands were supposed to be in Milwaukee, but coronavirus took care of that. And so how daunting was it to figure out how to do a virtual convention in this COVID-19 world?
Well, I agree with you, Roland. This is the most unconventional convention, but these are unconventional times. And I think the key to our success this week has been we saw it coming. We didn't put our head in the sand. And months ago, we made a very conscious decision. We hope for the best. We hope this situation will improve with coronavirus, but we plan for everything. That's what leadership's about. And so we dramatically increased our budget for the production because we anticipated the possibility that we may need to be substantially virtual. And that planning way back when really served us well. And most importantly, we've got a spectacular team. These folks know what they're doing. The head of our production has produced the Academy Awards multiple times, the DNC convention multiple times, the Super Bowl halftime show. And so he wasn't daunted by these challenges. Necessity is the parent of ingenuity and innovation. I think we've been able to produce an inspiring convention. And we've been able to introduce, our long-standing leaders, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, the Clintons and others. But also, I think there's an intimacy to what we have done. People have been able to get to meet the unsung heroes, folks who are not household names, and see what they are doing to help build a better America. And so I think it's been an inspiring week, and there's a lot of momentum that we have already had going into this week because of the historic announcement with Kamala. And now this week, and she knocked it out of the park. And I think we're going to come out of here with some real wind at our back.
Most conventions are designed to be produced for television, but this one really had to be produced for television, and so in a totally different way. And I think that that also presents its very unique challenges in terms of how do you host it, how do you deal with storytelling, and one of the things that I've heard obviously from a lot of people this week has been the sheer diversity of voices, of color, that shows this mosaic that represents the Democratic Party.
And it started the first 10 minutes of Monday. When we did the national anthem, young people from all 50 states, you saw the rich tapestry of our diversity right from the outset. Look at our hosts. We've had one Latina, one African-American woman, two African-American women, and then Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Every element of our convention has highlighted our diversity. I believe our diversity is the greatest source of our strength. That roll call across America, Roland, I found it to be really inspirational. So many Native American voices that were speaking from their states. It really enabled us and America to see this is what the Democratic Party looks like. And you will see a stark contrast next week in the Republican Party. It is such an extreme party. There is no commitment to diversity. They don't simply oppose diversity. You look at what this president says. The day he walked down the escalator of the Trump Towers, he was immediately denigrating Mexican Americans. He wants to divide our nation. This has been a week of hope, inclusion, and opportunity and optimism.
Obviously, there are tough decisions when it comes to who speaks, who doesn't. There have been folks who've been saying that Julian Castro, where has been his voice, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez should have gotten more time. Why this person? Why that person? That is never an easy job. And so speak to that in terms of folks who are in the room and how you came to those decisions and putting this whole thing together.
Well, in an ordinary convention, we have about 6 hours a day of potential speaking time. So you can accommodate a lot of speakers. We have roughly 2 hours, and we want a keynote every night. We want to make sure Joe Biden has the opportunity tonight. Tonight is Joe Biden's night. Last night was Kamala Harris's night. I think you look at the totality of every single night, it has been remarkable, the diverse array of speakers, the diverse voices. And when I refer to diverse, Roland, I'm not simply talking about racial diversity. We are a party for everyone. Joe Biden has remarkable reach, and we have a number of people who voted for Donald Trump in the past who are voting for Joe Biden now. We want to welcome those people. We have a big tent as a Democratic Party. So I don't think anybody can look at what happened this week and the lineup of speakers and say anything but, wow, what a richly diverse party and what a rich array of diverse talent was on display. I'm really proud of the choices we've made. There are other people I would have liked to have given more time to, but you got 2 hours a night. And that's the challenge. I spoke for about 2 minutes. And I didn't want to do any more than 2 minutes because I wanted to make sure we had enough time for everybody else.
74 days until Election Day, but it's really not 74 days because we're going to have folks who are going to be voting early as well. Registration deadlines are coming up as well. There are some, look, you can have the great convention, but at the end of the day, you've got to win. And when you look at where you have to win, what is your focus? What is your strategy? Normally, people talk about ground game. Well, it's a little hard to have a ground game when really you're limited in terms of having events, going door to door, things along those lines. And so how are you preparing this entire party for not only for you just had a virtual convention, but literally a virtual election, a virtual campaign season?
Right. Well, 74 days till the weekend is what I say. And I want to underscore something you said in your remarks there, Roland, which is the last day to vote is November 3rd. It's not the first day to vote. Voting starts September 14th in Arizona, for instance. And you go to iwillvote.com. You can find out all the information because you know what? We are working our tails off. Yeah, we don't knock on doors right now because it's not safe. If someone knocked on my door, I'd tell them to go away, quite frankly, because I wouldn't want them there, Roland, because it's not safe. But we have gotten our virtual clipboards out, and we've been organizing all around this country. And the proof is in the pudding. You look at Florida, Roland, and we've got 600,000 vote by mail advantage. We've been showing people this is how you do it. Register to vote by mail. Make that request. We have that advantage in Florida. In Arizona, we have a dramatic advantage in vote by mail out there. We anticipate 80 to 90% of the people who vote in Arizona are going to vote by mail. So the votes will be cast long before Election Day. So what we've been doing is reaching out virtually. We email people, we text people, we call people. That's how we've been organizing. That's how we won a really important Supreme Court race in April in Wisconsin in the middle of a pandemic. We out-organized the other side. Door knocking is one way to organize, but it's by no means the only way. And we're using every tool in the toolbox to reach out to people, to tell them, make a plan. Go to iwillvote.com. Figure out your voter registration status. If you want to vote early, go request that ballot. If you want to vote in person, figure out where your polling place is. That's what we're doing. We're not going to let Trump steal this election.
The Republican Party plans on recruiting 50,000 people to be at the polls in 15 states. to what they say is to target voter fraud. This is the first election they'll be able to do so after the court ruling. How are you going to counter that? They clearly are going to try to challenge as many Democrat votes as possible.
Well, listen, they've voter suppression on steroids is absolutely their MO, because Donald Trump can't win on the merits. That's why he invites Russian interference. That's why he tries to suppress the vote. That's why he tries to undermine the United States Postal Service. It's unconscionable. But it's not a surprise. So we know that. So we have built the most muscular voter protection operation ever, and we're obviously working hand in glove with the Biden campaign. We have a Democratic Party ecosystem. It's not just the DNC and the Biden campaign. It's Fair Fight. It's Eric Holder's group, the the Redistricting Commission, other colleagues and partners in the Democratic ecosystem. We're using litigation. We're using organizing. We're using out-and-out education. We're working with local authorities to make sure there are drop boxes in Milwaukee, make sure there are drop boxes in Arizona and Florida, North Carolina. We are working with local officials in enormously, I think, creative ways to make sure that people can exercise their right to vote. But here's the deal. Again, I can't underscore enough. This is what we need to do. Don't be intimidated by Donald Trump's scare tactics. We will have people on the ground as well. And this is what people have to do. Make a plan. Make a plan. Vote early. And don't make your plan on November the 2nd. Make a plan now. Check your voter registration status. People are going to come out. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, people are inspired to come out. People say, well, there's not that much excitement. I say BS. You look at South Carolina in February. Joe Biden outperformed Barack Obama from 2008. There's a ton of excitement on the Democratic side, and we are working our tail off to make sure that people can exercise that right to vote, and those votes will be counted. We're winning cases in places like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and elsewhere, and we are building this voter protection infrastructure. We got 20 people on the ground in Florida doing voter protection. I think we had 4 years ago. So we will be ready. But voters also need to be ready and make that plan.
You are, we talked about this a number of times over the last 3 years or so. And that is, there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women who voted Democrat in 2012 with Obama and Romney. That swelled to 13 points in 2016 between Trump and Hillary Clinton. And the White House, they believe that they can get upwards of 20% of black men. And I remember talking with the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016 saying, look, I can't even get your campaign to respond to me for surrogates for black men. How are, in terms of your micro targeting of key groups, how are you going to target black men? How are you going to target Latinos in these critical states to turn out the numbers you need? The reality is Democrats don't win by getting majority of white votes. They haven't even gotten more than 40% since 1964. And so how focused are you in terms of spending those dollars and really targeting those key groups to win at the margins?
I mean, you're absolutely correct. There are double-digit gender disparities with both African-American and Latino voters. And we have known that for some time because we've been doing the research and we've been making investments. And let me get specifically to what we've been doing with African-American men. We have a range of initiatives. For black men, we have this initiative called Chop It Up, and this has been underway now for over a year. And it's modeled after something Barack Obama did in 2008, Barbershops for Barack. It is a series of very granular, authentic conversations. I just participated in one last week. Michael Bivins. We often have a celebrity surrogate, someone who's a real influencer in the community who comes with us. And these are conversations with black men about what we have to do. And we outline what we're doing. And for me, what they are listening sessions, to listen to what do we have to do. And if you look at Joe Biden's plan to build back America, it reflects a lot of that listening, Roland, because we haven't paid enough attention all too frequently to these challenges. And we've learned from the 2016 lesson. And these Chop It Up sessions have been incredibly impactful. And we're hiring organizers, black men talking to black men, Latino men talking to Latino men through another initiative we have. We have an initiative called Seat at the Table, where we have African-American women who are, we established an ambassador program. We have literally thousands of African-American women in their communities advocating for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I think these have been really, really constructive. I just participated in one maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe a week ago, because it wasn't this week. And I learned so much from them. And I think people come away from them with a sense that this is a really different moment. And the Democratic Party is hearing me, because we're investing in the African-American community. And Joe Biden has a real plan to address all of these racial equity issues. And it is criminal justice reform, but it's much more than that. It's about making sure that we're making substantial business investments so that African-American business owners can have a real seat at the table. Folks understand that we are not simply coming by every 4th October seeking their vote. We're going to make sure that their vote translates into progress in their community. So that effort continues. And you and I have had that conversation now for 3 or 4 years. And I took it to heart, and that's why we've put this infrastructure in place.
Young voters, especially young black voters, critical. And the reality is, during the primaries, they were not that excited about Joe Biden or even Kamala Harris. What you hear is that they want to hear far more substantive issues as opposed to older voters. And so, same thing. You need those younger voters, significant numbers, more of them than baby boomers. But if they don't turn out in dramatic numbers, it poses a problem. How are you letting your folks know how they need to connect to those voters on the issues? Reverend William Barber, every time we talk, he says, don't make this about personality. Don't make it about party. Make it about the issues and connect the dots so they actually see how it all works together.
Well, and if you watch night 3 of the convention, the Wednesday program, I mean, we started out with gun violence, and then we moved to climate change. And these are issues that resonate with young voters. These are issues that resonate with young voters of color. And you look at the voices that were reflected in those presentations. This is all about the senseless violence that has afflicted way too many people. In the aftermath of George Floyd, I had so many conversations with my colleagues at the DNC and in the state parties. Mothers, black mothers of 18-year-old sons, and my son, I worry every time he goes out. That's not who we are as a nation, and that is why you see again Joe Biden's plans and Kamala Harris's plans. We are speaking to that community, these communities, with very concrete ideas. Joe Biden took on the NRA and defeated them. He was the person who brought us the assault weapons ban. When we win the Senate as well as the presidency, we will finally be able to make progress in gun violence reduction, progress that has been stymied exclusively by the NRA and these Republicans. When we have the Senate and the White House and the House, we will be able to make dramatic progress on climate issues and make sure that these issues have a racial justice lens, because I worked on environmental justice issues, and the people of Flint, Michigan and elsewhere. Flint is not an outlier, and Joe Biden understands that we need to invest in these areas. We attract young people by making sure that they understand that the issues they care about most are front and center in our agenda.
Last question for you, and that is, we talked about a little bit earlier in terms of what Republicans want to do. Donald Trump is throwing everything at the wall. Is your party fully prepared for the level of viciousness and attacks that are about to escalate over the next 74 days? I've said numerous times, he will do anything to stay in power. Are you prepared for everything that he and the GOP are going to throw at Biden, Harris, and the Democratic Party? Are you ready to respond? I know Michelle Obama said go high, go low. No. She modified that in her speech, but they are going to do everything to win. And a lot of times Democrats have not responded in kind to do everything to win as well.
Well, as I reflect on your question, I can't help but reflect on the convention. And you heard there was a video prior to when Nancy Pelosi came on last night and gave a wonderful speech. And it had a video of her appearance on the Colbert Show. And she said to him, you know, when they punch us, we need to be prepared to punch back for the children. And I watched that with great interest. I don't go to knife fights with a spoon, Roland. That's not a formula for success. And I understand that when they go low, here's what I say. When they go low, we go vote. And when they go lower, we get 20 people that we know who are eligible to vote and get them out there to vote. That is what we do. I think about John Lewis every single day at this moment. He endured unspeakable brutality in his quest to form a more perfect union. And he said to us, securing the right to vote, getting out there and voting is the most important nonviolent act that we can undertake to build a more perfect union. And that is what we are going to do. That's why we have built a really muscular voter protection operation. We know these attacks are coming because they've already been coming. And you know what? He's flailing right now. They'll be talking about birtherism next week. And you know what? Let them do that, because what you're seeing across America is people want to return to common decency. We know we've got to sprint across the finish line. We know they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. We will not respond by cheating and stealing and lying. That's not what we're going to do. We will respond by making sure we have every eligible person out there voting. Donald Trump is motivating people because people across this country want a return to normalcy and common decency. His tricks were attempted in 2018. That was the caravan distraction. In 2019, he went to Louisiana and Kentucky the day before those elections. He thought his presence there would carry people in beat red states across the finish line in those governor's races. It didn't work. There were dirty tricks there. They didn't work. They're not going to work this year either, Roland, because we're ready, we're prepared. We don't go to knife fights with a spoon. We make sure we're getting people out there. You're going to see record turnout. I am confident of that. We are organized like never before.
Tom Perez, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Take care, my friend.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one round. As our community comes together to support the fight against racial injustice, I want to take a second to talk about one thing we can do to ensure our voices are heard. Not tomorrow, but now. Have your voices heard in terms of what kind of future we want by taking the 2020 census today at 2020census.gov? Now, folks, let me help you out. The census is a count of everyone living in the country. It happens once every 10 years. It is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The thing that's important is that the census informs funding, billions of dollars, how they are spent in our communities every single year. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, and we wanted new parks and roads and a senior citizen center. Well, the census helps inform all of that and where funding goes. It also determines how many seats your state will get in the U.S. House of Representatives. Young black men and young children of color are historically undercounted, which means a potential loss of funding or services that helps our community. Folks, we have the power to change that. We have the power to help determine where hundreds of billions in federal funding go each year for the next 10 years. Funding that can impact our community, our neighborhoods, and our families and friends. Folks, responses are 100% confidential and can't be shared with your landlord, law enforcement, or any government agency. So please, take the 2020 census today. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.